Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I kind of wanted to answer a question that I get asked pretty often on stream, and it's a difficult to answer question, but at least here will be a video to kind of point people to if they do have it. This is, what is the best weapon in Deep Rock Galactic? And initially this question is just really difficult to answer because there's not really a best weapon in Deep Rock Galactic. It's best for what situation. Something like the autocannon might be best for like crowd control in a certain situation. If you're playing gunner and you don't need to be that accurate and you're just hitting a whole bunch of small enemies, then yeah, the autocannon's pretty good at that. But let's say you wanted to have the highest amount of damage and you're including overclocks and you want to play gunner, and then something like volatile bullets or mole is the best, where if you can make yourself like a Swiss cheese castle and fire mole through it, you'll basically one-shot anything. It's just, that's very specific and you need the setup and you need to be trying to do that, which not everybody is trying to do. So I felt to answer this question, we could answer it in two ways. One is, how good is a weapon baseline? And I would say the best baseline weapon, has no overclocks, just mods on it, that can do most jobs efficiently, would probably have to go to something like the Breach Cutter. I'd probably pick that one for best without any sort of overclocks, just because it kind of does most jobs you'd want it to. It doesn't do every job, but it does most jobs. It can clear up crowds very well. It can clear up big things very well. You can shoot it through walls. You can shoot it through big enemies, so you can hit weak spots really easy. It holds a decent amount of shots if you want to build it for more ammo, and you don't really need more damage. It already has really high stats as it is. So something like that might be what I would point to if you were going to say best without overclocks for just kind of generally doing most jobs. Again, it's going to lose to certain weapons at longer ranges because it just doesn't have long range. It's not going to beat the minigun at long range. It's not going to beat the revolver or the M1000 or most weapons that can actually reach out to long range. But it will win in quite a few areas. It does a lot of damage per second. It does very well against crowds. It clears up things very easily. So you could argue that that one is, quote unquote, the best without overclocks. Now, if you're going to throw overclocks into the mix, are we looking at a specific overclock that is necessarily the best? Because that's really difficult to pin down as well for the same reasons highlighted before. Or are we just looking at the general overall overclocks that we get for a particular weapon? And to answer that question, then wouldn't the Breach Cutter win again? And I wouldn't really say so, because the Breach Cutter has some odd overclocks. Some of them don't necessarily make it so much stronger. They just kind of change the way that it works, which isn't a bad thing at all. It can be really good. But if I was going to say which weapons have the most consistent overclocks that just make the base weapon better, I would probably pick three that are kind of standouts to me. One would be the grenade launcher, because I would say all of the overclocks for the grenade launcher are good. They also fulfill just about every role that you would want it to fulfill. You can have it have some extra utility if you want to take RJ250, so you can bounce yourself around. That's pretty useful, and you get a lot of ammo, and it's still decent against crowds. If you want more of a crowd control weapon, you have three options there, where you have compact rounds, pack rat. I guess clean sweep kind of also is this, because it doesn't really change the grenade launcher, just gives you more damage and more explosion radius, and also nukes. So all of those can be really good against crowds. And then you also have really high single target damage with hyper propellant. So it kind of fits all those roles. For the flamethrower, its overclocks just make it more of a flamethrower. If you like the flamethrower, which the flamethrower is pretty decent, kind of basic, but pretty decent, every overclock just kind of buffs it more. So it's very consistent if you always liked the flamethrower and you liked what it did and you just wanted more of that. That's another option for potential best overall, I guess. And then the autocannon is another one, because all of the autocannons are good. All the autocannons feel fairly similar to something like the flamethrower, where it just buffs an already strong weapon. There is more variety with the autocannon than the flamethrower, though. The flamethrower is really sbasic and overclocks. Autocannon changes it quite a bit, where you have 3 crowd control. Well, most of them are crowd control, but you have 3 crowd control in particular, being splintering shells that gets you more AoE damage and more just AoE overall. Carpet bomber, which gets you more AoE damage but less direct damage and gives you a larger AoE. Neurotoxin, which also gives you a bigger AoE, cuts down on your total damage, but you get poison on each of your rounds, which is great because it slows things down and deals damage over time. Then you have something like Big Bertha, where you've got high single target damage. and the rest are just kind of quality of life ones. You know, combat mobility is pretty nice just for running around quickly with it. And whatever the ammo one is called, I don't remember. The clean one that just gives you more bullets, which is great. So like most of these questions, whenever anybody asks me what is the best something in a game, the answer is almost always depends. What do you want? And I know that's not super satisfying to everybody. A lot of people just want, you know, the strongest, absolute best thing. And it's really difficult to actually say something is the strongest, most best thing, because something can be the strongest, best thing if it's extremely narrowed down to one specific thing that it really, really excels at. You could also just look at something like the regular clean overclocks throughout the game, which are generally just bonuses to the weapon, and if you like the base weapon, they're just going to be a bonus to it, and if you've already built it for kind of doing every job, it'll just kind of help you do every job a little bit better than you did before. So tell me your thoughts down below. What do you think the best weapon is in Deep Rock? I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about this, because I get this question asked a lot, and there's just really not a great way to answer it. So thanks everybody for watching this. I really do appreciate it. If you'd like to see more of my Deep Rock stuff, click over here on this video. That should take you to a full playlist of them. Thanks, and bye-bye!